If you are playing as a winger, it's crucial to know and understand where to stand on the field, where you should be making runs. Because you starting wide when your attack is starting from the back will make the opposition lose composure in the central areas. The closer you are to the opposition, doesn't matter you're fast or slow, they're not gonna let you breathe. One of your main goals as a winger is to provide scoring opportunities for your strikers. You have to be one step ahead of the opposition when you're dribbling. If you are playing as a winger, it's crucial to know and understand where to stand on the field, where you should be making run to, where you should take more risks, or when to rest. Because as a winger, you're one of those players that has to run almost the entire game. Positioning is key to a successful winger. Your goal as a winger is to support your attackers by providing them passes and crossing the ball in a threatening area so they can score for your team. However, recently there is a trend that coaches likes to play their wingers as the wing backs, which actually makes the job a lot harder for the proper wingers, because then your main goal is not really attacking, but it ends up being defending. So you have to run twice as hard if you also want to be effective when you're attacking. If you're training at a pro level, well, you already have a good cardio, so you don't really have to worry about it. Plus, you probably already don't need to watch this video anyways. But if you're training at an amateur level, where you practice 2-3 times a week, this video is perfect for you, because I'll be telling you all about the positioning as well as where and how you can conserve those energy to show your proper skills. You will need to have a great cardio to be able to survive this position. What is the secret to a great positioning on the field as a winger? First of all, there are a couple different types of wingers, where some wingers likes to go wide on the field when they have the ball because they're right dominant or they're left dominant. So if you have dominant right foot and if you're playing on the right wing, you will be taking the ball and going wide because you will not have confidence to cut inside and use your weak foot to be able to shoot the ball. And same on the other side, if you're left and if you're playing left wing, then you'll be going wide to be able to cross the ball inside. The other types of players are the ones that are right dominant, but they're playing on the left wing, or left dominant playing on the right wing, where this allows these players to cut inside and shoot the ball. Or this is great opportunity for those teams that you can really take advantage of your fullbacks overlapping, because they know that you are right foot dominant and you're playing on the left wing, where you're gonna cut inside and then you're gonna create that space for your fullback to open the field, and you can play either in front of him, you make the run inside, or you can just cut yourself and then take a shot to the net. Both styles of wingers is okay in my eyes, because they both have their benefits for the team. If you have a taller striker, it's better to have a right foot when you're playing on the right wing, because then you're gonna be overloading the inside by crossing the ball to threatening areas. But wouldn't it be better if you have very strong weak foot? So your weak foot is actually not that weak anymore. So you can actually be very unpredictable by cutting inside, outside, and the defenders will not be able to estimate where you're gonna make the run to. To be able to be very effective as a winger, you need to have incredible communication with your fullbacks. Because in a successful attacking team, you will need to have a great communication with your fullbacks. If you are a winger, then you will know when to expect your fullback to overlap you to be able to play in front of that player. Because it's very good idea to learn this communication, connection with your fullbacks. So every time when you're cutting inside, you know to expect that your fullback is gonna be overlapping you. You either play it to your midfielders that they can play in front of him, or you can do it yourself. And what is the secret to great positioning as a winger? First of all, even if you are playing at the left wing with the dominant right foot, you will have to start very wide when your attack is starting from the back. Because you starting wide when your attack is starting from the back will make the opposition lose composure in the central areas. Unintentionally or intentionally, the opposition's center mids or their attacking mids will actually start to spread and leave gaps for your team's center mids to receive the ball. Even if they are told by their coaches that they shouldn't be leaving their central areas, unintentionally, they will do this, which will create space centrally for your team to progress the game from the central channels. Because normally when you watch the games, professional games, you know the ball goes to the wide side of the field more often than it goes central when the attack is starting from the back. This is not the first option the teams are actually looking for when the team is attacking. First option is to always find those gaps in the central channels. But if there is no space, then the attack goes to the wide side of the field. And this is what the opposition does when they are defending. They close the central channels and they force you out wide, because this is a lot less dangerous for the defending team. You starting wide when the attack is starting from the back doesn't only create the space in the central channels, but it also gives you a lot better vision for you to see the entire field. Because if you notice, when you are playing winger, if you come central to receive the ball, there will always be either a midfielder or a defender right behind you, will not allow you to turn or look back. That's their goal when they're defending. That's why if you are going wide, you will be able to use your body to see the entire field when you are receiving the ball, or before you even receive the ball, to actually lift your head up to look for your teammates. As a winger, you need to be as wise as possible. When I say wise, I mean the wise that so you see everything that's happening on the field to create yourself that space that you need to show your skills as a winger. And I'm gonna tell you a very effective way to create this space for your overlapping fullback. So if the attack is starting from the opposite side and your fullback is overlapping, if you go central right away, you won't be bringing any players with you. You won't be bringing any opposition with you to create that space. What your goal should be is that go in between their center mid, their winger, as well as their fullback. Go in between those three and then make your central run. What this will do is actually create confusion in the opposition. They won't know who needs to be marking you when you are making the run to create the space. Sometimes maybe two of them will be chasing you, or sometimes none of them will be chasing you. So if two of them are chasing you, then you created a space for your fullback. If nobody is chasing you when you're making your central run, that means you created a space for yourself to receive the ball centrally. This is why the positional knowledge is super important, as well as the body position, to actually observe the game and know what's going on the field. If you want to be a successful football player in general, not just a winger, you have to be very confident to receive the ball anywhere on the field. Because if you show that you're slightly nervous on the field, the opposition senses this and they're gonna be basically bullying you on the field, and you don't want this. That's why I think the more successful players are the more confident ones. This doesn't mean that you have a bad ego, you have too much ego or anything like that, but you just have to be confident in yourself on the field to be really comfortable to receive the ball anywhere on the field, and which will allow you to have a perfect first touch to be able to make the turn and then get going with the game. To be confident on the field as a winger, you need to really learn the perspective of the opposition defenders. What they do, how tight are they gonna get to you, or how much space they're gonna give to you. And this is what is important, to know and understand your own abilities, so you know if you're a fast player, the defender will not wanna be tight to you anyways. But if you're a slow player, they're gonna get really tight to you, so they are not giving you that time so you can turn and do whatever you wanna do on the field. Whether you're a fast or slow winger, it's very important that just about when you're receiving the ball, you want to have as much space as possible from the opposition. So you can actually turn comfortably and have slight time to think about what you're gonna do with your next move. But if the defender is very tight to you, you're not gonna be able to do this, because you're gonna be automatically just wanna play back to your teammates, which is okay. But if you wanna use your talents as a winger, it's better that when you receive the ball, you have that space and you can turn. Then you can play and then show for another 1-2 touches. This is where it's very important to observe before you receive the ball, to look back where the defender is, and you can check off from them to more comfortable space, that you have that extra space to be able to think better, quicker. Even if you're a fast winger, you still need to have a reasonable distance from the opposition, about 5 to 10 feet, so you can still feel more comfortable when you're receiving the ball. Because the closer you are to the opposition, doesn't matter you're fast or slow, they're not gonna let you breathe on the field. So this is not good. So you want to create that space, but once you turn, you can get close to the opposition. But when your back is turned to the opposition, this is when you want to stay away so you can make the turn and be more comfortable with the ball. Either way, whether you're fast or slow winger, there's a lot of players making this mistake when your teammate has the ball and they're about to pass it to you, that they wait for the ball to come to their feet. But no matter what the case is, no matter where you play on the field, you must go towards the ball. So you're shortening that distance of the ball is traveling, which is not allowing the opposition to intercept the ball, because you're also going towards the ball to make this happen. Because if you move towards the ball when the ball is coming towards you, you're creating the space between you and the opposition, so you are more comfortable to turn and do whatever you want to do with the ball as a winger. But let's say the distance between you, your teammate, and the defender is very tight. So this is when you want to use your body to be able to check off and then actually acknowledge the position of the defender. One of your main goals as a winger is to provide scoring opportunities for your strikers. Being able to consistently cross the ball in the 18 for your strikers to score could be very challenging. You need to know the proper technique, your stance, as well as where on the field you should be kicking the ball to deliver these crosses. I think the main mistake that many wingers do when they're crossing the ball is to drive the ball too deep in the end line, where this gives opportunity for the opposition's defenders to come back in the 18 and defend the ball, as well as gives their goalkeeper a better position for them to come out and grab the ball. Going too deep on the line also gives a very bad angle for you to actually cross the ball. So your consistency actually drops quite a bit when you go too far down on the field to wait for a cross. I'm gonna tell you that something I figured out that's been way more consistent for me when I'm delivering those crosses, which is actually crossing the ball in the 2/3 of the field instead of going too far down on the field. So what this will do is actually gives you better angle for you to cross the ball, as well as it gives you the enough distance where the ball is gonna go from the goalkeeper as well as from the opposition's defenders, and gives your strikers a better chance to actually meet the ball at the perfect area where there's not too many defenders or goalkeeper actually bothering your strikers. To do this, when you're playing on the wide side of the field, when you immediately receive the ball, set yourself up, quickly lift your head up, see who is in there, and then make your cross. And ideally, this is about 2/3 of the field towards the opposition side. And trust me, this will be a lot more unpredictable for the opposition's defenders as well as their goalkeepers. Because the angle that you're gonna be crossing the ball from is gonna be much further and in a much direct angle towards the 18, where you're gonna be able to get way better curve from the ball. And the better curve you get from this, it's gonna be harder for the opposition's defenders to deal with these types of balls. When you are crossing these balls from that area of the field, you wanna aim for the penalty mark in the 18. And because this is a perfect place, it's just far enough from the goalkeeper as well as from the opposition's defenders. So right in between them. So which creates confusion as well. When you make the cross, the opposition is having a hard time understanding who needs to make the first move towards the ball, whether it's the goalkeeper or your defender. Plus, hopefully, your striker will be right there to actually make the first connection before their goalkeepers or the defenders. So ideally you want to aim for the penalty mark as well as about 3 meters high with the decent power behind it. And proper technique to cross the ball is you want to give the ball enough curve from outside to inside. The way to achieve this is to hit the ball with the inside of your foot to this part of the ball. You also want to keep a decent body composure as you're connecting with the ball. So you don't want to be leaning too far forward over the ball, or you don't want to be leaning too far back, because leaning too far forward will not give the enough height to the ball. But if you're leaning too far back, now you are lifting the ball really high. So you want to be just over it, almost like straight body, but keeping your head down like from your neck will give just enough composure towards the ball to get the perfect height as the ball is traveling. The thing is, when you are about to dribble, you will need to have a space from the opposition. And having this space from the opposition will prepare you for your next move. And if the defender is very tight to you, then you already can't dribble because you can't probably even turn to go around the defender anyways. If the defender is giving you space, that means that now you can turn and go after the defender and then always wait for their move first. This is very important because if you make the first move, then they're gonna be able to prepare themselves to stop you better. But if you get close to the defender when you have the ball and you let the defender do the first move to touch the ball, now this is your time to be able to take the ball to one side and carry on with your dribbling. As a player who's dribbling, it's more important that you should worry about the second defender, not the defender that you're going against. Because that defender that you're against probably will direct you towards the second defender, and that's the player that will win the ball most likely. You want to avoid that. Their body position will tell you whether you can dribble or not, or if they're directing you towards the second defender. If they are not directing you towards the second defender, then you can go on towards them or you can go wide, because generally speaking, the defenders will want you to go out wide of the field rather than cutting inside to have an opportunity to shoot the ball. This is why it's very important to observe the defender's stance. That's gonna lead you to a successful dribble, because if their stance is facing directly at you, so they didn't give you an angle or anything like that, that's a perfect opportunity for you to take on the defender. But if they're giving you an angle, most likely they're directing you to the out wide of the field or towards a second defender where they can challenge you by two players instead of themselves. It's also very important to not rush, because rushing shows weakness, and when you rush, the opposition can actually make a very small movement to win the ball. And as the player who's about to dribble, you have to worry about how can you keep the ball for a longer period, or how can you be effective, how can you cut the ball inside and shoot the ball. And the defenders obviously thinking, how can I win this ball, or how can my team win this ball? So that's the difference, because if you focus yourself too much on how am I gonna dribble this person, you're not thinking as a team. Because as a football player, you have to think how you can gain something for your team rather than how can I look good dribbling around this player. Because defensively, they're not really looking or thinking selfishly, but as a player who's dribbling, most of the time you're thinking more selfishly, where how can you make yourself look good. And this is not wrong, this is generally what the dribbler is actually thinking when they are about to dribble around the player. The simpler the dribble move is, I think, better for you to be more successful, because then if you're doing too much scissors or elastico and all that stuff, you're overcomplicating this move, where you can actually, like, simply dribbling means eliminating the opposition, which means you can check and then go to the other way, which will allow you to eliminate the player anyway. So you don't have to fancy it all the time to be able to make a dribbling move a great move. Most of the time you can also dribble without having the ball as well, where the ball is coming to you and you dummy the ball yourself and then you go back to the other side. You have to be one step ahead of the opposition when you're dribbling. You have to think what you would do as a defender. That's when you actually be a great dribbler. You have to think the next step when they're thinking of the first step. As hard as this sounds, this is what successful dribblers do. They are not overthinking, they are just one step ahead of the defender. It all comes down to how your vision is, because vision is not only seeing the field, seeing what your teammates are gonna do, but vision is also seeing what the opposition is gonna do. And you wanna improve your vision as much as possible to be able to be more comfortable. And there are certain drills that you can do to be able to improve your vision or improve your dribbling techniques. Setting up cones will prepare you for your leg movements, but game is completely different than how you perform around the cones, or even completely different thing than you playing at the practices or playing with your friends or dribbling around the friends, because the adrenaline level is different, because the focus is different. The game is different than everything you can do with a cone or with your teammates or anything like that.